Anthony Spilotro was born May 19, 1938. Spilotro was a made man in the Chicago outfit. Spilotro was first arrested at the age of 17 for shoplifting. By the time he was 20, he would be arrested 13 times. 4 out of 5 of Spilotro's brothers were involved in criminal activities. One of his brothers was a dentist named Patrick Spilotro. Spilotro grew up around mobsters in Chicago. The Federal Bureau of Investigation estimated that Spilotro was responsible for nearly 24 murders. In 1962, Spilotro was put in charge of finding 2 thieves named Billy McCarthy and James Miraglia, who murdered 2 brothers by the name of Ron and Phil Scalvo, whose father happened to be close friends with mob boss Tony Accardo. Spilotro lured McCarthy on the pretense of a planned burglary. Spilotro beat and stabbed McCarthy with ice picks for 3 days. He then put McCarthy's head in a vise and continued to squeeze it until McCarthy's eye popped out. McCarthy finally gave up Miraglia's name, Spilotro, then sliced McCarthy's throat. Miraglia was found in a bar by Spilotro's crew. They drove Miraglia to where McCarthy's body was. They then strangled Miraglia to death. In 1962, the bodies of McCarthy and Miraglia were found in the trunk of a car. These murders were known by police as the M&M murders. Spilotro was brutal, but he was also dependable. Tony Accardo put Spilotro in charge of the outfit's Las Vegas interests. In 1971, Spilotro was sent to Las Vegas to look after the skim and to keep it operational. The outfit put Frank Rosenthal in charge of the Stardust with Alan Glick as the front man. The early 1970s was a good time for the mob. The mob controlled virtually every casino worth controlling in Las Vegas. The skim diverted millions into the pockets of the Chicago outfit. In 1972, Spilotro was indicted for the murder of a Chicago real estate broker. The murder itself happened in 1963 and was brutal. The victim had chunks of his body carved out before he was killed. DeStefano, who was also indicted, was killed by a fatal shotgun blasts. Before the trial started, it has been said that Spilotro pulled the trigger. In 1973, Spilotro was found not guilty. In 1974, Spilotro was indicted for stealing from the Teamsters Union Central States Pension Fund with his hole-in-the-wall gang. In 1976, Spilotro opened a pawn shop called the Gold Rush, where he sold the stolen jewelry. In 1978, state investigators put Spilotro's name in, and in 1983, Spilotro was on trial again. In June of 1986, Tony Spilotro and his brother Michael were called to Chicago for a meeting. Their beaten bodies were found days later buried in a cornfield in Indiana.